Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Michelle Martin, and I am a certified international health coach. But I also work at Cascade Centers as both an account manager and a wellness expert supporting their holistic health and wellness initiatives. Before we get started, I wanted to review just a few housekeeping things. There is in the GoToWebinar interface a downloadable handout of today's program, so feel free to download the program here off of the GoToWebinar interface, or I do believe there's some follow-up today that will also provide you with a PDF version of this program. We do have a lot of content to go through, so I am going to keep most of the questions until the end of the program. However, I do want this to be interactive, so I'm going to be asking some questions. We've got some polls. I'm also just going to really kind of ask you for your input throughout the program, sort of your experiences and things of that nature. So I definitely want this to be, your program and interactive. So let's go ahead and get started. This is such a beautiful quote for those of you that do not know who Frank Lloyd Wright is. He was an American architect, interior designer, writer, educator. I mean, his creative period spanned more than 70 years, and he passed away at the age of 91. So truly somebody to sort of ascribe to if you're going to live a long life. You have this creative, fulfilling life. Which is absolutely something that is something we all can acquire. Today's program is not going to be about any one generation. This is really a whole lifestyle to be thinking about. And unfortunately, younger people have a perception about aging, that it's going to be a painful process to be endured. Even, people who are older come to think of that too, as like, what's my next step? What is my purpose? So it's really about changing our perspectives and perceptions around aging. And there are negative perceptions that have been sort of cultivated over time. So it's not our fault. It's not like we just came to this idea that, that aging is something to avoid and it's painful and horrible, because really it can be what we make of it. So some of those negative perceptions, just previous health issues, if you've had previous health issues, they can definitely create a lot of fear of more illness. There's definitely a lot of social, environmental pressure to stay youthful, to keep our beauty, to stay strong. And then also, if you've had any family history of illness, any sort of chronic illnesses that, if you watched a loved one suffer, absolutely that would create in our mindset this idea that aging is horrible and we need to try to avoid it. But there's really no way to avoid it. So the best way we can do is go about making it the best journey possible. Another perception is that youth is health, and that is not always the case. We're definitely seeing generations changing in how health is affecting their well-being in this moment in time, but also we now have just research and studies that show if you're young and you are eating poorly or you're sedentary, that these things can affect you when you get older. So it's never too early to sort of start a healthy lifestyle process. And unfortunately, things like obesity have tripled since the 70s. And part of that probably is to blame on things like, the progression of fast food and ultra processed food and things like soda and, the marketing of all of that kind of fast and quick and very delicious, if you like sugar and fat, parts of the food that really make it sort of, something that you want. And then of course our lifestyles have changed. If you think back how we used to have to farm and create our food and hunt our food, and we don't do that. We go to the grocery store, but we still, eat the same. And if not, we eat more. That is definitely something that has really grown a lot in the last even 10, 15 years, is sort of this idea of the amount of food we're eating. So really food is going to play a definite part in that. There's a few Johns Hopkins University research that's shown a number of cardiology epidemic out there for obesity and sedentary lifestyle. And we're seeing a rise in younger adults factors, high cholesterol and more smoking and high blood pressure. And again, all of these things are preventable with an appropriate lifestyle. Also, just some alarming news about millennials around the increased signs of colon and rectal cancers that are out there right now. And granted, this has always been sort of a major risk factor in older people, but this sort of these new studies coming out showing these illnesses that were really known to be in older people are now being seen in younger people. And so it's really taking into account looking at your lifestyle from a very early age. And that can be getting everything from a biometric test early on in life, so you get an idea of cholesterol, HDL, LDL, a blood pressure, and they seem a bit benign and maybe something that you think you don't have to worry about at a young age. But if the sooner you can sort of find out where your health stands, the sooner you can get started on making some adjustments and getting back into good health. An Ohio State University study found that Generation X and Generation Y are showing poor physical health and higher levels of unhealthy behaviors. So increased alcohol, smoking, and definitely more depression and anxiety in these generations. So over time, these types of things can result in higher levels of chronic disease and more deaths in younger generations. So again, the sooner we can sort of get on top of this and make improvements, the better. And again, the reality is aging does not equal ill health or lack of personal fulfillment. We absolutely have control over a lot of our health and most of our personal fulfillment. So, we are thinking about how life has changed. So for the first time in history, we have a generation of people who have spent their entire lifetime focused on healthier lifestyle habits. So think of people aged 50 to 70 who are just basically reshaping our previous definition of what growing older meant. And we can all basically benefit from this knowledge. A gentleman by the name of David Harry Stewart, he is the founding partner of Ageist. He writes about aging wisely, and he has a key point, really a very key point to remember about aging, and that is that our current attitudes are really relevant to how people lived 20 or 30 years ago. So this has nothing to do with our current reality. And he reminds us perspectives are continually changing. So here's a great example he gives. In 300 BC, when Alexander the Great was at his most powerful, the head of his personal guard was 65. So the attitudes during this historical time really reflected aging, not being focused on illness or decline, but of hard work and purpose and perspective. So really our goal to be thinking about is not necessarily even living a long life, but really living a healthy life, a fulfilled life, a purposeful life, and getting that compressed morbidity. And compressed morbidity is really you're reducing the length of time a person is sick or disabled before death. So really the goal is to live this long, healthy life. And then when it's time to pass, because we all will pass, there is a short period of time between that illness and death. And I don't want to get too morbid here, but really, as we're thinking about living a long and healthy life, we want to have the minimum amount of time where we would be feeling ill in health. So I'd like to do a poll question if you guys are all game. Let me pull up this poll here. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on which lifestyle habits are linked to long life. So give me your thoughts there. I'd love to hear back from you. Thank you. Got definitely some good input here. Nice, awesome. Thank you for dropping in those thoughts. And I'm going to close this poll here in a second. So if anybody that hasn't voted yet, just go ahead and drop your thoughts in there. Great, thank you. Okay, I'm going to close and share with this poll with you. So yes, definitely avoid overeating and prioritizing your purpose. And this is a bit of a trick question because all 4 of these are actual lifestyle habits that are linked to long life, oddly enough. So for anybody who thinks, wait, I thought coffee was bad, or you're not supposed to drink alcohol at all, it's really a balance. And it's something that I like to work with people a lot. You know, a lot of times what keeps us from having this healthy lifestyle is we think that we can't have certain things, you know, especially when it comes to things like food or, you know, alcohol or anything of that nature. So really it is necessarily about what is going to keep you in the practice. And if, you know, cutting out brownies altogether are going to make you feel like you need, you know, and need a brownie more, then that's what you don't want to do. It's really going to be about keeping your balance. Okay, I'm going to share with you 13, just really 13 quick thoughts on what will help you live a long and healthy life. And again, these are not age specific. You know, I'm not talking to any one generation here. Truly, these lifestyle habits can be started right now and start giving you better health. And as you can see here, I'm not telling you to stop drinking alcohol. I am going to tell you to stop smoking. I think that we have enough. Most people know that we have enough empirical knowledge and data to say that smoking will shorten your life. And actually, it shortens your life by 10 years. That's really the average. So definitely you want to avoid smoking. And, you know, if you are smoking right now and you stop smoking, you can actually start getting those years back. So it is never too soon to stop smoking. And if you quit smoking, it says, you know, some studies here show that if you quit smoking by the age 35, you can add those 8.5 years back to your life. And so, you know, each year that you can get your smoking out of your life, the better off you're going to be. Some of those things, and obviously avoid overeating. That's definitely not a surprise to most of you. They definitely have some studies out there that longevity is connected to lower caloric intake, some light fasting. If you've done some fasting, a lot of people do 14, 16-hour fastings. And really what fasting does for you is it actually it basically gives your organs rest. So your organs, when you eat, your organs are having to digest food and your body's burning it, and there's a lot of work there, right? And so what you want to do is offer your body some rest time, and that helps your body repair. So it gives it optimal time to go in and do some repairs and rest and rejuvenate. Basically, our body needs that. So overeating is definitely extends and is a lot of work for the body, organs to complete the process, especially if it's high caloric, high fat, over processed food, things of that nature. So yeah, definitely. For people who might be surprised about the nuts, obviously there's a lot of fat in nuts, so you do have to be sort of careful, but they are rich in protein and fiber and antioxidants. They're just a great source of just obviously a lot of vitamins and minerals, things like copper, magnesium, potassium, folate. I mean, so much good stuff in there, right? And then things like walnuts and can really help with really especially walnuts and almonds can help as an anti-inflammatory and just help with metabolic syndrome. So really think of, you know, just a small amount of nuts, once a day even. You can mix in some seeds if you like pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, but again, it really is about a small portion. And especially if you like nuts, then you get to sort of spoil yourself. And mind you, these are more like tree nuts. So I'm not a big fan of peanuts. They have been known to have some sort of mold spores on them, which is kind of why they've been linked to things like allergies. So if peanuts are your go-to, maybe just throw in some different nuts, some tree nuts that will kind of help you transition a little bit. Lots of studies around turmeric and its anti-inflammatory properties. Plant Slant is really about maybe not necessarily taking meat out of your diet. I'm not going to tell anyone to stop eating meat. Just maybe a little bit less of it and adding more plants to your diet. So lots of ways to get different types of vegetables and produce into your lifestyle and make that a priority. And I'm going to tell you a little bit in a little bit why that is a priority, because really produce is linked to longevity in a lot of different ways. Obviously, activity, movement, exercise, just fitness in general. It's really important to be thinking about movement. We were meant to move. Absolutely, movement is something that is going to help us live much longer. And it doesn't have to be, an hour at the gym. As few as 15 minutes of exercise per day can help you achieve benefits, which, could include an additional 3 years of your life. So that activity is going to be really important, and just getting you away from things like chronic illness also. Okay, here's the rest of those long life habits you can start looking at and think about incorporating into your lifestyle. Really, I was sort of pleasantly surprised by all of you that did choose that prioritize your purpose. I feel like this is getting a lot more steam, just partially because of COVID. We're realizing how close to home things do happen, and we're starting to think about, like, am I doing what I want to be doing? Am I fulfilling parts of my life that I feel like are important to me? And that could be anything from a change in a career, job. It could be reviewing your relationships and deciding, if something isn't fulfilling enough, or maybe it's just switching up your own perception of who you are. Like, maybe it's just about self-awareness and becoming really conscientious about how you're moving through life. So prioritizing that purpose is huge, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it a little bit later too. One thing that I feel like we have been talking about for a number of years is chronic stress and anxiety. These things have been linked to chronic illness. Stress is one of those things that I think they used to think just to tell you to kind of just suck it up and get over it and move through it, and that was the expectation. But we have seen what it does to our bodies and our minds. So our body and mind, they are interconnected. There's no one way of getting through the day without both of them, speaking to each other and moving through a situation or a circumstance from their own perspective, and incorporating it into your health. So your body's reacting a certain way and your mind's responding to it. And over time, chronic stress is associated with chronic disease. So whatever that looks like to you, we all have stress. Stress is natural. It really is about how you are managing it. And I don't want to say necessarily coping with it, because coping means that you're not necessarily changing circumstances, and we want you to change your circumstances, right? We want you to be looking at life and sort of making adjustments so that you are living your best life, really. And with COVID, obviously, anxiety has really skyrocketed. And that has a lot to do with our fear of the unknown. And a lot of times, the best thing that we can do is really understand there are things that are absolutely out of our control. We can't do anything about them. What we can and do have control over is our response, and keeping ourselves in a positive space is going to be key. And that is difficult right now. I absolutely understand that. So whatever professional assistance you may feel you want to reach out for, maybe it's behavioral health counseling, maybe you just want to talk to your general practitioner, maybe you want to start meditating, whatever that looks like for your way of moving through it, the best course of action is to take action. And then we have learned a lot about, especially since COVID, what isolation can do. So really, keeping connected with people is key, and not just any people, but really your people, your social circle, the people that you'll receive reciprocity from. They are staying positive. There's a lot of ill will out there, especially on social media. So really prioritizing those personalities and relationships that are like-minded and positive and are in that same space as you is going to be the best way to move forward from there. And I just spoke a little bit about being conscientious and self-aware. I don't think we do enough of that. You know, we're reacting a lot. We're saying things without thinking. We're thinking things that aren't actually factual, but we do kind of go down a rabbit hole because that's sort of, you know, our way of coping with things is to expect the worst so that we can work our way backward and try to fix it. But some of those things, most of them will never happen. And so we're stressing ourselves out more than we really truly need to. Yes, coffee and tea are actually good for you in balance. So that's the other thing, is just be really mindful when you're drinking things like alcohol or coffee or anything of that nature, is to keep yourself balanced. If it means that you have no coffee days or no alcohol days to keep yourself balanced, you know, that's great. Or if, you know, you are moving through sort of addressing a substance issue right now, definitely reach out for some professional assistance to help you manage your goals. And I'm going to talk in length in a moment about sleep, because many people are not getting enough of it, and it's not your fault if you're not. Really, COVID has done a number on people and their sleep patterns. So I'm going to talk a little bit about sleep here in a moment too. Sorry, my slides are a little slow. Give me just one more second. There we go. For anyone who hasn't heard of the blue zones, I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide, but I just want to say I'm a huge fan of the blue zones. And really, it's the blue zones are a study of the healthiest communities all over the world. And these are centenarians, so people who are living over the age of 100, and they're living and thriving at that age. So these are pockets of communities in Okinawa, Japan, Sardinia, Italy, Nicoya, Costa Rica, and Loma Linda, California, and they are actually growing in the United States. So different areas. I know there's one just recently in Fort Worth, Texas, that is really doing well. So it is sort of incorporating a lifestyle practice with these 9 specific rules. And I don't want to call them rules, but they're really guidelines more so to live your life by. And so in the last couple of slides, I talked about these 13 things that can help you live longer. These are ways to just sort of address those in a quick and easy way. So when we're talking about de-stressing, we just talked about purpose and fulfillment. Again, that plant slant, incorporating more produce in your life, which again, I'm going to talk about here in a moment. The wine of 5, that's really also about, there's 2 things there, right? There's the resveratrol and that red wine, but there's also that connection with like-minded people that you get to spend time with and really feel good about. The family first, you know, incorporating a small social circle within your life that is so incredibly important and can add years to your life. We talked a little bit about not overeating. Okinawa, Japan has a saying called harahachibu, which is to eat 80%. That can be modified, obviously, because we don't want to waste food. My grandma would not like that rule because she does not like to waste food. So really that 80% means to just be mindful of when you are full. So if you go to a restaurant, you know how large the portions are. So maybe you just cut half and you decide you're going to eat half, or you share a meal. Or you just remember to eat slowly and purposefully, you know, savoring, using all of your senses, making sure to drink some water with your meal. All of those things are going to help you eat slower and less, which is going to be key. We're going to talk a little bit about movement here in a second. We did talk about the right community, and we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, just belonging. That could be a spiritual group, a community that, you know, again, is like-minded. And it is sort of huge how much that can actually add years to your life. Got another poll question for anybody who's game. What are the top indicators of health for you personally? So this is just, there's no wrong or right answer. I just want to hear kind of what you're moving through. There we go. So, what is it that resonates with you? Because I mean, people have different ways they perceive their health and what makes you feel good. For some people, it's just, it's going to be a lifestyle habit. Some people, it's just going to be one particular thing. So I'm just curious what, sort of what you guys are thinking when it comes to, your day to day and what makes you feel good about that experience. Thank you for your input. I'm going to close the poll here in a second. So I'll just give you a few more seconds here to do that for anybody who hasn't voted yet. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this. And of course, share. Because it is kind of interesting to see, what everybody's experience is, right? So I see most people, it's talking about the energy that you have to do the things that you love to do, and that could be even just that capability, of being healthy and strong and feeling like, okay, I'm gonna, start a new hobby, and I need to be feeling good, have energy, because a lot of times what we experience are things like brain fog or feeling lethargic. So yeah, that's really important. Yeah, if you're feeling energized, that means you've got some good balance. And of course, just feeling mentally sharp. When you go to work and if you feel slow or in a fog, it can be really frustrating, feeling like you're not getting what you need to get done. So yeah, not too surprised about this. I like that there's some diversity there too. So, everybody's having some different experiences. Okay, we're gonna go into movement, and this isn't just the gym. So really, everybody has, their own idea of what's gonna work for them. What we don't wanna do is tell you have to go to the gym, get an hour of cardio, half an hour of strength training, because for some people, they're never going to want to go back to the gym again. So it's really about what is going to fit you in your moment in time. And again, we talked a little bit earlier about how just even 15 minutes a day can add longevity to your life. But yeah, it's just about having a goal and then working your way to that goal. So I like to run, so I've done a number of half marathons, but I've never made it to a marathon. And so really, to set that goal, it takes time, obviously, and I have to build up to that. And so I don't know if I'll ever make it to a marathon, but that's okay. It's, to me, I'm not going to necessarily perseverate on that, and it's really going to be about where I'm at right now. And I still love to run. I just, don't not necessarily time for a marathon right now. But if you do have a goal, finding a personal trainer or an accountability partner to help you sort of stay on track with that goal could be really helpful. Setting a goal means that you're going to calendar it and it's important to you. And really, fitness is one of those things that is absolutely important enough to calendar. So if you're having a hard time staying on track, definitely set some time aside to get this in a calendar. And set your goal and let somebody know about it, whether it be your partner or a coworker or just a fitness friend, neighbor that's going to help you stay on track. That's a great way to keep moving forward. And truly, strength training isn't necessarily about weights too. So that's another thing I just want to make sure that everybody knows, that, Tai Chi, yoga, racket sports, golf are all considered in the realm of load-bearing activities. So, you're using your core strength for something like that too. So define it how you feel like you need to right now in this moment in time. Just stay on track. If you miss a couple of days, don't beat yourself up about it. Just get right back in the mix and get going on it. The other thing I want to kind of talk about too is our posture. I don't think we talk about it enough. For all of you that just sat up straight, you know what I'm talking about. So posture really allows for us to open up our chest and allows us to breathe deeper. And breath is so important to us. If you breathe deep, just even for a few moments, just breathing deeply and slowly, it will immediately reduce your blood pressure and act as a calming agent. So if you are in an anxious period or if you are stressed, taking a few moments to just sit up straight, opening up your chest and breathing deep, like within your belly, and getting those deep breaths in, you're going to instantly feel calmer. And just reminding yourself to just sort of push back on those shoulders. They call them lizard push-ups, where you just sort of pop up the shoulders and push them back, because apparently that's what lizards do when they're alert and active and energetic. So just remembering kind of that lizard push-up and breathing deeply will help just sort of in the moment if you're feeling anxious or just feeling that extra boost. Because sitting at a desk, if that's what you do, sitting at a desk and staring at that computer for long periods of time, it's definitely something you want to avoid. You want to get up at least every 30 minutes, if not more than that, and just move around a little bit. If you don't have a standing desk or something like that, it's going to be extra important. And then as you're sitting at your desk, you realize your posture is poor. And then when you're slouching, you're breathing very shallow, which is that fight or flight breath. So really pushing back on those shoulders, getting those deep breaths are going to help you stay calm, and they're just good for you, especially when you're doing things like exercise. You want to be able to have good breath. Okay, we got another poll for anybody who's interested. Okay, I'm curious if anybody knows anything about superfoods out there. I know superfoods don't necessarily get talked about a lot, or they're talked about in certain circles, and then people are sort of like, that does not sound good. Like, I don't want to eat that. So the more tests that they're doing, the less obscure foods seem to become. So really, we're going to talk a little bit about a number of superfoods. So really, when we're talking about superfoods, these are foods that are high nutrient density. So that means the substantial amount of nutrients and fewer calories. So that calorie to nutrient content, and they're going to contain high volume of minerals, vitamins, antioxidants, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, when you think about those superfoods, they're actually in a lot more foods than you might think. Okay, so I'm going to close this. And share. So, well, you guys did really well. I mean, honestly, all of these are considered superfoods. So I don't mean to keep sort of tricking you, but all of these are considered superfoods. And things like the turnip greens are really about it's about the greens. It's really about any dark leafy green is going to have tons of nutrients in it and definitely be considered a superfood. So your spinach, your watercress, and your beet greens, those types of greens are going to be so important to eat on a regular basis. And cranberries are in the berry realm. So this is berries in general. I sort of tricked you with cranberries because cranberries aren't necessarily known to be like a super antioxidant. I mean, they are, people know of them, but it's really all those berries, those deep, dark colored berries that offer a lot of antioxidants and nutrients. And then if you think about, how these antioxidants, they're naturally occur in certain foods, and they help neutralize those free radicals in our body. And the free radicals are the natural byproducts of energy production that can wreak havoc on our bodies. So when we think about those free radicals that are out there from everything from pollution and that we are encountering on a daily basis, we need these things to help clear our bodies. And yes, seaweed is absolutely a superfood. Think of how dark and leafy that is. I don't think most people go out and eat seaweed. So normally what you see out there is fermented seaweed. And for anyone who has not tried it, go try it. Like, don't knock it till you try it, because it is so good. If you like Japanese food, they usually have a seaweed salad. Dried seaweed is actually delicious if it's sea salted. So, here's where it helps to sort of get curious, right? Just be boldly curious about how you're going to sort of mix it up and try some new things. Most people know about garlic. Definitely know that garlic it's a natural, it helps, clear the body of bacteria and viruses. So garlic is so good for you in so many different ways. And yes, dark chocolate, but the dark chocolate does need to be 70% cacao or higher. So you need to eat a darker chocolate. And the wonderful thing about dark chocolate is it's also a mood booster. So it's wonderful. And if you can have that with something that you like, if you like blueberries or something like that in the dark chocolate, that's perfectly fine. You can have a little bit of both. Okay, super important for us to talk about food and nutrition if we're going to be talking about health. Truly, it is so important to eat clean, real food. And our food is highly processed, most of the food out there right now. And I present on this topic in general. Like, this is a topic that I talk about for the whole program. And it's so important to be thinking about what we put in our body. There are so many illnesses and disease that can be basically turned around with food as medicine. So if you can think about how you can really address this, it's going to be so important. And to give you sort of a background of why it's so important is because in our bodies, there are billions of neurons, and at the end of each neuron is a neurotransmitter. And these neurotransmitters connect with each other. So they're communicating with each other throughout our body. So basically we have our own internal telecommunication system. And so these neurotransmitters are communicating, how to think, how to move our body. It's regulating our emotions, our metabolism, our sleep patterns. So why is that so important? Is because nutrients are what manufacture neurotransmitters. So when we have a lot of nutrients in our bodies, our neurotransmitters are super happy and healthy and sparking quickly and effectively and efficiently. But if we're not, then our neurotransmitters are suffering. So we really need to basically feed our bodies this nutrient dense diet to keep our bodies moving effectively and efficiently. And it's very natural for our bodies to contain bacteria and viruses and fungi. That is our microbiome. But really, when we think about a balanced, healthy, clean, real diet, that's what's going to create a healthy microbiome. Too many times we are eating just really unhealthy foods, and our gut health is suffering because of it. And once your gut health suffers, it is really difficult to get back into good health. You're going to probably need some professional assistance. And if you've noticed things like a lot of gas, bloating, any sort of GI disruptions, that's your body telling you, my gut is not happy right now. And if you wanted to go to a professional, naturopaths are a great way to get some information about, maybe you have a food allergy, maybe there's something else going on, and they can sort of help work with you to heal your gut and get back in sort of a good standing, because our gut health is so incredibly important. Microbiome affects our central nervous system, and that controls our brain function. UCA biologists estimated 90% of our body's serotonin is made in the gut. So that serotonin is a neurotransmitter. So again, it's a chemical messenger. So if you don't have good gut health, that could be affecting your mood. So it's not just your physical health, it is your mental health. So clean, real food is going to be what I'm going to tell you to focus on today, is avoiding those ultra processed foods. And you really just want to avoid the boxes and the bags and really focus on things that you can go and are clean and real food. And that's also true for heart health. Certain bacteria can produce chemicals that may block your arteries and lead to heart disease. So again, just having clean, real food in your body is going to help your body be able to use that food effectively and feed the body appropriately. And I'll just give you a few categories here. So categories for good gut health, whole grains get a bad rap. Right now, people are avoiding whole grains because they think they can't have carbohydrates or whatnot. But really, we need whole grains, healthy whole grains. So, you even think about ancient grains, things like quinoa and amaranth, if you want to avoid things like gluten. So there are ways to find whole grains that are going to be good for you. They have fiber, and so many other nutrients that are good for your body. Also legumes, veggies, and fruits, lean meats. Also broccoli, asparagus, again, seaweed, that superfood, flaxseed, garlic again, and herbs for gut health are things like ginger, coriander, cilantro, cardamom, turmeric, we talked about, cumin, lemon balm, all super healthy for your gut. Okay, let's just talk about the heart really quick. This is something, and again, this isn't about any one generation. I'm not talking to, people 40 and over. I'm talking to everybody. These lifestyle practices, this information is for every generation. And this, again, the sooner you can sort of address these lifestyle habits, the less likely you are to get into a chronic illness situation. So that is our goal, right? So this Loma Linda University study, over 15 years, just talking about water. And it's so important to be thinking about hydration. And I'm not talking about sodas or energy drinks or juice or anything of that nature. We're just talking some good, healthy, clean water. And I know sometimes water can be kind of hard to get down for some people. So think about putting some cucumber, mint, lemon, strawberry, berries, infuse them. So there's lots of ways to add a little flavor to your water without adding artificial flavors to your water. And if you think about, your heart transports blood through your body to all your organs, and that includes your brain, which affects your mood and cognitive thinking. So this isn't just to create an efficient body, this is to create an efficient mind. Since blood consists mainly of water, we need a continuous supply all day long, because you don't want to get dehydrated. So even if you're slightly dehydrated, your heart has to work harder to pump blood, and that increases your heart rate and can cause irregular heartbeat or palpitations. And dehydration thickens your blood and makes blood vessel walls constrict, which can cause hypertension or high blood pressure. And that strains your heart. And over time, that can lead to buildup of plaque in the arteries and blockages that could actually cause a heart attack. So as you can see, it's so important to be thinking about this early in age, and then hydrating your entire life so that you never have to well, you shouldn't say you never have to think about it, because obviously diet and lifestyle, obviously, but this is one thing that you can absolutely help yourself just by drinking enough water. And this study was done with just 5 glasses of water. So obviously we want you to drink more. Truly 8 ounces is key. But if you are active, getting a lot of fitness, you want to drink more. Again, you want to stay away from feeling dehydrated. You want to be starting the day with a glass of water. When you get out of bed, that could be one of the first things that you do, just to help your body and your organs, get hydrated right after a night of sleep, because your body hasn't had water for hopefully 8 hours. Okay, we're going to do another poll. Here we go. Here we go. What is the last thing you do before going to bed? Yes, it's time for us to talk about sleep. I definitely want to be cognizant of time here. So we've got definitely a few things to go through, but I definitely want to hear your input. Sleep is so incredibly important. And I definitely think when I've been working with people and talking to people about sleep, it is a consistent issue I hear people talk about. Because when we go to bed, our body is supposed to be at rest, right? And so all those things maybe we've been avoiding throughout the day sort of rear their ugly head when we go to bed. So just thinking about ways to incorporate some calm and set the scene of your space for you to have a healthy night of sleep. It's going to be so important. Okay, any last minute votes, please drop them in, because I'm going to go ahead and close this poll. Thank you so much for your thoughts, everybody. And it's not too surprising. I'll be curious to hear from anyone who wants to respond regarding the none of the above. So if you chose none of the above, I would love to hear what you're doing before bed. Not super surprised that internet, social media, or TV are almost 60% of what people are doing. And I'm not to say that it's bad to do these things, but really what I want to start incorporating is this idea of setting your sleep hygiene regimen. And that's going to mean a certain amount of time before you go to bed you want to disengage from all of your technology. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that here in regards to sleep hygiene. But thank you for your input. And again, anybody that voted none of the above, love to hear what you're doing before you go to bedtime, just to give you an idea of maybe you're doing something extremely healthy, and I'd love to hear that. So absolutely, sleep quantity and quality, it can affect so many things when it comes to our body, everything from physical health to mental health. And obviously what we've been experiencing right now is a collective trauma due to COVID. There's absolutely stress out there. Many people are drinking more alcohol since COVID. So there's a lot of things that could be happening that can disrupt sleep. And that includes things like sleeping disorders. And if you are moving through anything like what you might think is sleep apnea, there are sleep study tests out there. So I would definitely say reach out to your general practitioner and for assistance, because you don't want to go too long without having chronic insomnia, because chronic insomnia is really what's going to cause a lot of those health issues. So here are some sleep hygiene tips, and really the key is going to bed and getting up at the same time. Most of what I'm going to have you suggest that you do is before you go to bed, at least a couple hours before you go to bed, that you are not eating, that you are you're not exercising and things of that nature, because you want to start turning down. And if you've just ran 3 miles, your body's amped up. Or if you've just eaten a meal or dessert, your body now wants to go in and process that food and find nutrients from it. And so it's working. It's not going to be at rest. So it's going to keep you up. So thinking about what your bedtime or what your sleep is going to look like is something you kind of have to address throughout the day, choosing whether or not you want to have coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon if you think it's going to keep you up. Some people, it doesn't keep up at all. Other people have a very high sensitivity to caffeine. So that's going to be important to sort of address throughout the day. I'm a huge fan of keeping your bedroom clutter-free. So I want you to think of your bedroom as this oasis, right? So you don't want a bunch of papers, and you don't want to be doing work on your laptop in bed. Your bed should be a sacred space. Like the more you create this space of your mind knowing, I'm going to enter this bedroom and get into this bed, and I'm going to have calm and blissful night of sleep, instead of, oh, it's time to go to work, or I feel anxious because I'm thinking about work in my laptop and in my bed. You don't want to be associating those things together. You want to keep them very much apart. And again, adapting the environment for that likelihood of sleep. I'm not a big fan of having a TV in the bedroom, so you definitely don't want to be watching TV right before you go to bed. Do at least 30 minutes before you're going to bed, and work your way up to an hour, maybe even 2 if you can. And that includes your phone, your smartphone, your Kindle, your laptop, any of those devices that are telling your brain to be alert. And that just can't be helped when you have that kind of light directed at you. Your brain is telling your body to be alert and be on, and it's time to go, not time to slow down. So think about how your body's responding to these messages and move accordingly. And some things to just add is soothing music, a warm bath or shower, essential oils, all of these things that are going to sort of help calm rather than amp you up. Now, granted, this is easier said than done. It would be so nice just to have me tell you, just reduce your stress, but that is just not going to happen, and I understand that. So really, increasing things that you love can sort of help, balance that out a bit. So if you've had an incredibly difficult work day and you come home and, maybe instead of jumping right into dinner is just to go outside, take a walk, using all of your senses, just smelling the clean air, noticing beautiful things around you, being grateful of those moments in time can help sort of switch your mindset into going into the evening in a positive way. talking to somebody. You know, if you're going through a lot of stress, don't internalize it, because your body will store it somewhere, and you don't want it to do that. You want an outlet to extend it out and get rid of that stress and move it into positive places. And then just some self-care. You know, just take good care of yourself. Know that there are going to be some things that come up that are difficult, and just know that, you know, if you have a mindset to adjust into a positive, you'll be able to keep up that resiliency and move through. It might mean that you have some lifestyle changes that are necessary. So address those also. This isn't necessarily meant to be a passive experience, right? We're supposed to be, you know, taking responsibility, making changes, adapting. That's what we're here to do. That's what we are as human beings. So we're up for the challenge. So the best thing you can do also is just take action. If something's not working for you, it's time to make some changes. Definitely, there's much more to life when we think about all the things that affect us. So our relationships, you know, just social and environmental factors are making an impact on us every day. And so evaluating our emotional bandwidth and being able to sort of empathize and have compassion is going to be key, especially right now with everything that's happening in the world. The more we can open our mind and expand our mind and think about another person's experience, the better off we're going to be if we can be in that state of understanding. And our relationships are going to depend on those types of open-minded perspectives. So if you are, I spoke a little earlier, if you are on social media and there are a lot of toxic things happening in some of the conversations that you're reviewing, now might be the time. Like, do I want to do this anymore? Or is it time to let some people go? These are things that you can have control over, and they do affect your life physically, emotionally, and also your environment. Really, it's going to be key to have that social circle that will help, you know, keep you away from things like isolation. This is not just you having this experience, right? We're having a collective experience right now that is truly traumatic with COVID. And so the more we can understand that we are not alone, the better off we're going to be. We also derive a lot of fulfillment from our occupational environments and you know, intellectual stimulation and our financial standing. So if we're feeling safe in these environments, you know, if our career is fulfilling and we're getting you know, that feedback that we feel is good, and we feel fulfilled by what we're doing in the world, it is hugely important. And we're sort of seeing that with the great resignation that's being talked about right now. People are leaving their jobs because they are not feeling fulfilled, because they are not getting their needs met, and that's okay. You know, we are allowed to adjust and readjust when necessary. And if that means a career change or a job change, then it could be time. Always good to think about pros and cons and take things slow, of course. So yeah, those are things as you sort of look through lifestyle change and environmental change, sort of address some of these points in your life and make some shifts where you feel like you need to. Okay, I believe this is my last poll. Would love to hear your thoughts. We've talked a lot about, or I've talked a lot about purpose, but I feel like I've got a lot of feedback about purpose too. So, you know, thinking about how much purpose affects our life. You know, we talk a lot about, at least in the world, you know, just talking about, you know, what we are meant to do in this lifetime. And, you know, that question cannot always be answered right out of the gate. It changes. You know, we start off with one mentality and we change. And so really our purpose can change, and there's no reason why it should be left on one thing or one purpose is better than another. It's really about what is going to feel most purposeful to you, what is going to bring you fulfillment. Thank you for your votes. I'm just going to share this now. And this actually does have an answer. It is 7 years. So yes, 47% of you got that. 7 years is correct. So yeah, I mean, having that purpose, feeling like what you are doing in your life has meaning is huge. So if you're still searching for that purpose, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if it means just sort of starting out with, you know, how am I going to, you know, cultivate the a higher sense of self, that can be a purpose right then and there. Just making, you know, creating the best version of yourself as you decide how you want to extend your experience out into the world. I did note earlier how spirituality, religion, you know, these things are different for different people. There's no one way to do this. There's no you know, religion that's better than another, or spirituality has worth. So really, it's finding what works for you, what will help you feel connected, what will help you feel positive about your journey in this moment in time. But really having that connection and action that goes along with it, that place to go where you can start to move forward with how you want to help. And maybe that's just volunteering with an organization that's you know, important to you. You know, search it out, find out what is going to work for you, because not everybody wants to be part of a religious group, or not everybody believes in spirituality, but there is a place for purpose, and you know, seeking that out for what your experience is right now is what's going to be key. I'm going to touch on one last thing. We are almost done here, and I do want to leave time for questions, but forgiveness. I think this is so powerful. I don't think people understand how much forgiveness affects us. So according to the Mayo Clinic, the health benefits of forgiveness include improved mental health, less anxiety, less stress and hostility, lower blood pressure, fewer symptoms of depression, a stronger immune system, improved heart health, and improved self-esteem. So it's going to be so important to let go of regrets, grudges, old belief systems through a forgiveness process. So if someone has harmed you in some way, I am so sorry. If you have done something where someone may feel that you have harmed them, it is time to forgive them. It's forgive yourself, and it is a process. I absolutely understand that. So here are 3 steps I feel that can really help with that. Just validating what you are going through is going to be so key, because a lot of times we don't feel heard, we don't feel valued, and that validation is going to be so important. And this isn't a validation extended outside of yourself. This is your experience, so this is you validating your experience. But there is a process to evolving as a human being, so we definitely want to move on to the next process of not carrying this with us. So if somebody has harmed you, why would you carry their harm? Like, this is time to basically let that go, because that emotional baggage will weigh on you, and you will carry it, and it will create animosity, and you don't want that negativity in your body or your mind. You want to let it go. But to do that, you're going to have to really release this person, release yourself with, and that includes with empathy and compassion. So true forgiveness is just basically loving yourself enough to know, like, hey, I don't want to carry this through my lifetime, and it's time that I value myself enough, or you know, I value myself enough to forgive myself, or to forgive this other person. And it doesn't mean that you'll ever have to ask this person forgiveness. It really is your personal journey about your intention. So if you truly want to be forgiven, then you can allow yourself that grace. If it means that you write a letter to that person saying, you know, you hurt me, and you never send it, that's okay too. It doesn't always mean that you're going to get that extended validation from somebody else, but you can do this process yourself and move on. And if this person can't do the same, that is their own journey. You can't live that journey for them. They're going to have their own issues. And trust me, they're moving through their own process themselves. And if it's negative, it's not yours to carry. You have to think about yourself and keep yourself in the most positive and healthy place. So just quick on the basics. Again, physical movement, that nutrient-dense food, positive, fulfilling relationships, reducing your stress, adding that self-care, talked so much about the purpose, and that's going to be so important. Restful sleep, hydration, and just joy. And joy can just be a moment of gratitude in the morning when you get up, just giving yourself, you know, like, nice job, and I got through the day. Sometimes that's all we need, is like, wow, I can't believe I just got through that. So here are some authors and just books regarding aging and the concepts of aging and how much aging is changing. So we can absolutely have a long and healthy life with no disease. It just takes some diligence and ownership of our journey. Okay, I know I'm right at 11 o'clock, so for anyone who needs to go, I absolutely understand. If there are questions, please feel free to drop them in. I would be more than happy to answer any of those questions. And if there are no questions, absolutely just know that we are all definitely moving through something right now. So definitely, if you feel like you wanted to reach out for some professional assistance, please do. Everybody's moving through this a little different, so there's no one way to get through your journey right now. What I just spoke about today, are tools. They are tools to help, and I hope that you can pull from them and add them to your lifestyle and create more health and viability in your life. That's going to just be so important. It's your personal journey. Well, thank you so much. If you have questions, would like to hear more about Cascade Centers, please call 1-800-433-2320. Just know I'm sending lots of good energy and hope everybody is doing well out there, and take care.